Imagine it's early 1969. Deep Purple is a band with two hearts pulling in opposite directions. They just returned from a successful first U.S. tour, riding high on the success of the hit cover of Hush. Yet in their native UK, they remain an underground act, struggling to make a dent in the charts. As they prepare to enter the studio for their third album, the pressure is immense. The American label, Tetragrammaton, is pushing for another hit single, yet internally, the band is already beginning to fracture. What the world didn't know then, and what some of the band members didn't even know themselves, was that by the time this third album hit the shelves, Deep Purple, as people knew it, would be history. Two original members were already being sized up for the exit, even as they recorded what many critics now consider their most soulful and adventurous work. Today, we're diving into the brilliant chaos of Deep Purple's 1969 self-titled album, the beautiful mess that captured a legendary band right before they changed the world. Stick around to the end because the story of how the band secretly replaced their own members while still on tour is one of the most cold-blooded dramas in rock history. After returning to England on January 3rd, 1969, the band had virtually no downtime. They immediately settled into the Lane Lea Studios in Kingsway, London, with their usual producer Derek Lawrence and engineer Barry Ainsworth. The schedule was punishing. The band's management organized recording sessions in the sparse gaps between the full UK tour and clubs and colleges. Because they were constantly on the road, they were chronically short of material. Bassist Nick Simper recalled that they never had the luxury of downtime to be creative. They were always being chased by the label for new songs. Ritchie Blackmore was equally frustrated, describing the ridiculous pressure of being told to go into the studio and write a song specifically for that day. Despite the rush, the sessions were productive. Most of the tracks were written and rehearsed right there in the studio. The band was moving away from the Clones of Vanilla Fudge label they had acquired and started to focus on original compositions. Out of the 8 tracks that eventually made the album, 7 were originals, more than on either of their first 2 releases. During this period, the band also moved their rehearsals from their original space at Deeves Hall to Highleigh Manor in Sussex, a 10th century manor house that functioned as a hotel. It was in this atmospheric setting that they honed the darker, more Baroque sound that defines the record. The recording was not without its mishaps, though. During the 9-hour session, the band was told they had to finish the entire album the next day. Because of a local cup tie match, all the hotels were full, and vocalist Rod Evans was forced to sleep in the band's van. When he woke up the next morning to record, his voice was nearly gone, which contributed to some of the strained and unusual vocal takes found throughout the album. Released in June 1969 in the US and September in the UK, the album is simply titled Deep Purple, sometimes referred to as Deep Purple 3, and it perpetually confuses new fans who mistake it for a debut. Stylistically, it's a fascinating document of a band in transition, a musical identity crisis caught on tape. You have keyboardist John Lord, a classically trained visionary who wanted to bridge the gap between rock and the concert hall. Ritchie Blackmore, who was beginning to look toward a much louder, heavier future. This internal tension created a unique blend of progressive, hard, and psychedelic rock with a much harder edge than anything they had done before. For some listeners, it's the first album where Deep Purple truly sounds like a hard rock band, even while it still maintains the naive and innocent charm of the 60s. The artwork is just as layered as the music. The cover features the detail from Hieronymus Bosch's 15th century masterpiece, The Garden of Earthly Delights, specifically the right-hand panel describing hell, a macabre image with musical instruments, where they're used as devices of torture. Interestingly, the original LP cover appeared in monochrome due to a printing error. The band had wanted the original earthy colors, but they decided to keep the black and white version as the permanent face of the record. In the US, the label ran into further trouble when the record shops perceived the Bosch painting as anti-religious or immoral, leading to it being poorly stocked on shelves. The album opens with Chasing Shadows, a track built on tribal African rhythms, and these were done by drummer Ian Paice. Lyrics were inspired by the one and only John Lord's and his Nightmares. It immediately signals a shift towards a more aggressive sound. This is followed by Blind, a slow mournful track that showcases Lord's classical leanings through a prominent harpsichord performance. One of the few covers on the album is Donovan's Lane Lea. Run your hands through your hair. Deep Purple stripped the ballad down into a hard rock version, complete with jazz-inflected break from Lord. The track Fault Line serves as a bizarre experiment with these interlude patterns and kind of weird double-tracked sounds, and this follows directly with The Painter. A blues rocker to Highleigh's Blackmore's evolving lead style and Paice's inventive drumming. Side 2 begins with Why Didn't Rosemary? A groovy, bluesy rock track inspired by the band watching Roman Polanski's film Rosemary's Baby. The lyrics famously pose the question, why didn't Rosemary ever take the pill? Then there is Bird Has Flown, a track that edges into early heavy metal territory, with Blackmore leaning heavily on his wah-wah pedal. The undisputed centerpiece of the album is April, a 12-minute odyssey that Blackmore wrote about his birthday month. It unfolds as a three-part suite. The first section features Laura on piano and organ, with Blackmore on acoustic and electric guitars. The second is purely classical. It's a middle section orchestrated by Lord for a chamber ensemble of flutes, clarinets, and strings. And the final section brings the full band for an intense rock finish. It was Deep Purple's longest studio recording to date, and in many ways a dry run for the classical rock fusion experiments that will soon follow. While the music on the album was ambitious, the real drama was unfolding behind the scenes. By May 1969, while the band was still touring to support their previous releases, Blackmore, Lord, and Paice had already decided to let Rod Evans and Nick Simper go. They felt the band needed a sharper, rawer, and heavier sound, the direction inspired in part by the meteoric rise of Led Zeppelin. The core trio believed that Rod Evans, with his smooth and polished pop-oriented voice, wouldn't be able to handle the aggressive material they wanted to write. Evans himself was also expressive. He expressed reservations about his future in the band. He wanted to relocate to the United States to be with an American woman he had fallen in love with. Nick Simper's bass style was also considered out of step with the direction the band was heading. It was rooted in that late 50s and early 60s sensibility. What makes this story a truly cold-blooded story is the decision was kept completely secret from Evans and Simper for months. While the Mark I lineup was playing shows together, Blackmore and Lord were quietly scouting replacements. They visited a pub gig in London to watch Ian Gillan and Roger Glover perform with their band Episode 6. Blackmore initially approached Gillan, who was enthusiastic about joining, but insisted that his songwriting partner Roger Glover come with him. The band then secretly recorded their next single, Hallelujah, on June 7, 1969. With the new lineup, while Evans and Simper were still officially members of the band and had no idea what was happening. Simper later described the sacking as a body blow, made all the more painful by the fact that he had been the one who originally recommended Ian Gillan to the band a year earlier. The final show for the original lineup took place in Cardiff on July 4th, 1969. Just 6 days later, the new lineup made their live debut at the Speakeasy Club in London. Rob Evans eventually moved to the U.S. and co-founded the progressive rock band Captain Beyond. While Nick Simper went to form Warhorse. The Purple's third album stands as a fitting conclusion to the band's formative years. It was the sound of the group literally tearing itself apart in real time, even as it produced some of the most creative and adventurous music. When the transition to the new lineup was complete, Deep Purple became a more focused and ferocious machine. But this 1969 self-titled record was the last time they were truly unhinged and unpredictable. It remains a bridge between the psychedelic 60s and the heavy metal 70s. A beautiful and accidental mess that captured a legendary band right on the cusp of becoming something world-changing. And that transformation would arrive sooner than anyone expected. Ian Gillan's first studio recording with Deep Purple would be the Concerto for Group and Orchestra, A remarkable collaboration with the Royal Philharmonic that proved the band's ambitions had no ceiling, and I'll do a video on that probably next. That album is covered right here in this channel, so check out the Deep Purple playlist and keep the story going. Thanks for watching, and we will see you all in the next one.